Hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into a mini. Well, drink of the podcast. What do we go with tonight? First time video podcast for those that are watching. We went with another Liquid Death iced tea peach, which it's peach flavored, but it's technically called Rest in Peach. I've never been much of a peach flavor person, and I have to say I kind of thought I was going to like it, but honestly, not my favorite. Not my favorite, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm a little disappointed. I thought I was gonna like it. I can't, man, I can't remember. This is the second iced tea we've done. And I can't remember if it was or not, but these iced teas, they don't taste very tea-y, if that makes sense. Like, you take an Arnold Palmer and you kind of taste, you get a good lemonade taste, then you have a good iced tea kind of taste. You can taste it. And the tea just tastes watered down. Um, not knocking it. It's just not my personal favorite. I'm sure there are people out there that, I urge you guys go out and try it. Tell me what you think. Like I said before, they have a couple of different things. If you go to liquiddeath.com, they got Mountain Waters. They got their flavored sparkling drinks that we've had a couple of here, those on the podcast too. They have Death Dust, and then their iced teas. And once again, the Death Dust is just essentially like miniature versions that you can just pour into the drinks. I found those at Walmart. I found them at Target, so that you can find those there. And I'm not gonna lie, I just saw this before I got on with you guys. They have a Walmart exclusive iced tea called Blueberry Buzzsaw. And even though I have not been a huge fan of these first two, we gotta try this flavor. So we'll be doing that hopefully probably within the next month or two. I gotta start doing a little bit better job of like scheduling and kind of planning out more of that stuff too. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I gotta say, I really, really did like their flavored sparkling waters that they have. Very good. So far, these first two iced teas or flavored iced teas just haven't been my favorite. I mean, there's something that I would drink again. It's not like it tastes horrible. Yeah, again, it just unfortunately comes down to another personal preference. I wish it had a little more substance to it. Um, it is light, so if you're looking, you know, to try something or you like peach flavor, take it in. Why not? Um, so yeah, liquiddeath.com, you can, like I've mentioned before, for those that have listened and now will be watching, go to liquiddeath.com. They got so many cool things going on. Their website's pretty cool. You can read up on them. They have all different kinds of merch, um, and just things to read up on. For those that maybe are watching for the first time, what is Liquid Death? Liquid Death was started by two gentlemen out in California that essentially wanted to create a drink in a can that looked like they were drinking alcohol, but weren't. So, I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have seen stuff like this out at Targets, like I mentioned, Walmarts, things like that. And yeah, they're really cool. I like the cans. They look pretty sweet, and for the most part, they taste pretty good. Like I said, personally, I prefer their sparkling. Their sparkling waters to the iced teas so far. Hopefully we get one of these iced teas that just has a little bit more substance in it. But yeah, once again, just like a lot of the places we've done on here, go onto the website, they'll show you where you can buy it. If you order through the website, they have this Earn Skulls what's it, like a promotional campaign, like a lot of places, like, the more you buy, points you get, and you can redeem those for merch, that kind of stuff. So go check them out. You can also find them on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, actually. So yeah, that's essentially what we have for Liquid Death. But before we move on, before I even took that last sip, 4-3, 4-3. That's what we got. So yeah, once again, before we kind of get even into Tommy Town, we have a little bit of news there. Gonna kind of be bipartisan with the whole video podcast versus people that listen to the podcast, because I know people will probably be doing the same thing, and I don't want to just assume everybody's going to be watching. But super cool, super excited to be doing this for you guys. Super excited for the people that do enjoy watching their podcast and getting their updates that way. And just like always, we're going to continue to improve. Obviously, our basement is still a work in progress, but still super happy that I've been able to do this for you guys. And stay tuned, because before we let you go for the night, or for the day, rather, we do have some updates and some news for you guys. So, like we always do, moving right along. No new news to report on as far as the hockey teams are concerned this week, despite being 2 weeks off here. Hope everybody had a fun summer week last week. But for the basketball teams that are in the Summit League, there were a record number of Tommies that earned Summit League academic honors. For the third straight year, the University of St. Thomas saw success both on the field of play and in the classroom. A record and conference leading 269 Tommies were named to the Summit League's academic honor roll just yesterday. To be eligible for the academic honor roll, student athletes must maintain a GPA of 3.2 or better during this last academic year. Additionally, a student athlete must complete one season of eligibility in a sub-league sport, which excludes football, and the hockey teams, CCHA, WCHA, and Pioneer Football League. So in total, 243 St. Thomas student athletes were honored on Wednesday afternoon, with 26 of the members technically receiving honors as both on the cross-country team and the track and field team. This marks the third consecutive year St. Thomas has led the Summit League, both in total and individual academic honor roll members. And the Tommies also actually, we've highlighted them too, received academic honors in the Pioneer Football League, WCHA, and CCHA, like we mentioned. So, without further ado, for the teams that we congratulate, first of all, congratulations to all of the award recipients. This podcast would be way too long for you guys, for me to adjust every single one of them. But because we do cover the basketball teams, we are going to give them a quick shout out here. So we get down to women's basketball, and we had senior Ellie Dagg, sophomore Faith Feuerbach, junior Phoebe Frenzel, junior Jade Hill, junior Gabby Johnson, junior Jordan Lamker, freshman Emma Miner, junior Sammy Opachuk, sophomore Amber Scalia, and freshman Lizzie Steingraber. And then for the men's basketball team, that must have been, sorry. Bear with me here. We're still getting our bearing here on the on the video podcast. Then for the men's basketball team, we had graduate student Brooks Allen, graduate student Raheem Anthony, sophomore Carter Bierke, graduate student Parker Bjorkland, senior Dom Martinelli, and junior Ben Now. Huge congratulations to those. And if by some reason you're watching this podcast already, that is awesome. And if I butchered your name, I apologize. So yeah, that's what we have for that. And then just earlier today, the Summit League actually announced the commissioner's list of excellence. Excuse me. So Jack, what is that? The academic honors continue to roll in for St. Thomas. The Summit League shared its 23-24 commissioner's list of academic excellence honorees earlier this afternoon. In total, 120 Tommies received the prestigious honor, while St. Thomas Dive took home the Team Academic Achievement Award in women's swim and dive. To be eligible for the Summit League Commissioner's List of Academic Excellence, student athletes must maintain a 3.5 GPA while completing 1 year of eligibility at that. So a huge congratulations to the women's swim team on that. But we still had 4 men's basketball guys that got nominated by this: Brooks Allen, Carter Bierke, Parker Bjorkland, and Dom Martinelli. And then for the women's basketball team, we had Ellie Dagg, Faith Feuerbach, Phoebe Frenzel, Jade Hill, Gabby Johnson, and Jordan Lamker. So once again, a huge congratulations, obviously, coming from an institution, myself, that prides themselves on their athletics, but as well as the student athletes, and understanding the student comes first in the classroom academic part of it. Really unbelievable to see this many achievements, not just on the ice, but the off the ice stuff. I personally, as I get older, I think that speaks more to a program than a lot of these on the field or on the court stuff does. I don't think it's hard to convince kids that have a lot of talent to go to a good school. So that's why I say that. I think you run into more of an issue trying to get the kids that have the quality character, the kids that I don't want to come off as off-putting, but the kids that are smart, the kids that their academics mean something to them, they take it seriously. Because let's be quite honest, there are some great athletes out there that sometimes don't play because they're hurt or something, and it's really code for they're academically um, ineligible. I apologize. So for those that are watching the podcast, I kind of fiddle with stuff sometimes while I'm doing this. So I apologize if you're having a hard time kind of watching some of this stuff. But yes, onwards, upward. And then the last bit of news that we have for you guys for the football team, single game tickets are now on sale as of yesterday. Yes, you heard that right. The University of St. Thomas football announced single game tickets are now on sale. The Tommies will play 7 home games in 2024, including the first ever Thursday night game of the Division I era. Single game tickets start as low as $20 for the season, which features games against University of Northern Iowa, San Diego, Drake University. Group tickets are also on sale with reserved bench seating, starting at $10 for all contests. But yeah, like I said, for the other games, we got Sioux Falls, Black Hill State, Stenson, and rounding out the senior day last home game against Dayton. So, Tommy football fans, go get your tickets, TommySports.com, and then click on the menu button to go to the football team. So that's what we have for the Tommy Town. I actually, excuse me, Edna actually asked a question about the Olympics, which is funny, and I'm glad you asked it because I was curious about this looking into the Olympics before I even got your question. So thank you. She wanted to know, Jack, why do games start before the opening ceremonies? And Edna, you and me think very, very similarly. I didn't actually realize that until I think it was we got back. I think it was Monday. I was like, hey, I want to see what some of the first. I wanted to see what some of the first sports that started were right after the opening ceremonies. And looking at the schedule, I was like, wait a minute. There are a couple sports that start before the opening ceremonies start. Why the heck is that? And it turns out it's not some crazy reason, Edna, or anybody else that's interested. The reason the Olympiad committee gave was some sports just require more time for competition, and then it went into this lengthy response where with how far we've come with medicine, sports science, and all that kind of stuff. Like certain sports just require more rest between certain things. So um, that's what I have. Like I said, simple answer. Some sports just require more time for medaling, getting qualified for at the medal games, and so forth. So for those that are interested, just yesterday, rugby, only two sports already started. Rugby and soccer both started, and then earlier today, Thursday, archery and handball also got underway. For those that are curious, even though there are things that happen, the only thing that will be going on tomorrow, Friday the 26th, is the opening ceremonies. There will be no sports going on tomorrow. But yeah, and one thing for my fellow sport Olympic lovers, one thing I'm glad the website pointed out to me that I want to remind you guys, they are in Paris, and Paris is 6 hours ahead of time. So we're doing the podcast. It's about midnight right now. So Paris time, it's about 6 a.m. So people are probably waking up and kind of getting ready. Maybe the early birds are. Anyway, so yeah, something to think about. Can't wait. And excuse me. So yeah, other than that, getting into our professional sports, I was kind of worried it was going to be the opposite way. Not going to be a super long podcast tonight. Not a ton to report on. But with that, we actually do have some things to go over and a couple more questions we need to answer. So first and foremost, Sean wanted to know, Jack, what's going on with the Wild? And truthfully, Sean, there's not a whole lot going on with the Wild. I know on the last podcast about 2 weeks ago, we talked about a little bit about re-signing Declan Chisholm and Adam Raska, but it's kind of slow moving for the NHL right now. I think the Wild have been trying to acquire some guys, maybe try to get a little bit of money off the books, that type of stuff. But we're in kind of an awkward time right now um for hockey because for hockey um training camps and that kind of stuff are gonna start coming up here. And no, that's September. I apologize. Yeah, that's September. So a lot of guys are just enjoying off season time, that kind of stuff right now. Um, so yeah, kind of slow moving on hockey. I apologize, Sean. But on the basketball side of things, the Timberwolves in the summer league have looked phenomenal. Which actually leads us to our next question. Jordan, excuse me. I'm sorry. Jordan wanted to know, Jack, between Terrence Shannon Jr. and Shannon Jr. and Rob Dillingham, who is going to produce more for us this year? And truthfully, gosh, I, I wish both of them do unbelievably well. But if I had to pick one, if I had to pick one over the other, I would probably have to give the what the heck? I'd probably have to give the nod to Dillingham just by nature of him being a point guard. I think this year, I'm not making any bold predictions or anything right here, right now, but I do think that we're going to slowly but surely kind of move on from Mike Connolly. I think Mike Connolly and Dillingham will kind of play more that 1A, 1B point guard role for us this year. And I fully anticipate him um, being in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And part of the reason I say this is because technically, even though he is 6'6", Terrence Shannon Jr. is technically listed as a shooting guard and was a shooting guard in college. Um, and if you look at our current um, depth chart, or even if you watch the Wolves games, our starting shooting guard is Anthony Edwards, who not only is very good but is very young. So he's very much somebody that, hey, if he wants to play 48 minutes a night and it's a close game throughout, he's going to probably play 48, 46 minutes a night. Yeah, that's my answer for you guys. I think both of them have the potential to compete for offensive rookie of the year. Obviously, was pretty surprised when we actually um, traded up to get Dillingham. And then I've heard a lot of stories. Apparently, this Terrence Shannon Jr. was projected to be like a top 5, top 10 pick somewhere in there and had the talent to, but apparently he was having some legal troubles at Illinois during college that kind of made him not as much of a hot commodity, and is somebody who, regardless of that happening, really played well in college. Really played well in college and really just showed out. So both of them have the potential to do great things. I mean, at 6'6", maybe you talk with Terrence Shannon Jr. and ask him, hey, do you have an interest in trying to play the 3? Because if he does, you're still looking at sharing minutes with Jaden McDaniels, but you probably have a little bit more to play with there, because we do have other guards coming back like Nikhil Alexander Walker, um, and those guys too. But great question. And then before we move on, I saw this the other day and wanted to bring it up to you guys because it's obviously news that happened within the last time we were on, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I saw it on Instagram. I thought it would be on their website or something. It's not. It is only on their Instagram page. So that's why I got my phone in front of me and telling you guys. Um, what would that be? So Wednesday, the Timberwolves dropped their 2024 preseason schedule. So on October 4th, they will be in LA taking on the Lakers at 9:30. On October 11th, they will be at home taking on the Philadelphia 76ers at 6 p.m. On the 13th, they'll be in the Big Apple to take on the New York Knicks at 6. And on the 16th, they will be in Chicago taking on the Bulls at 7. And then to wrap up the preseason, they will be at home hosting the Denver Nuggets on October 18th at 7 p.m. So exciting stuff. It's kind of weird to see it kind of be the end of July here with this drop. That can only mean one thing. They'll probably wait until the Olympics are over, I would imagine. The Olympics only go until the 11th, but I would imagine not long after the Olympics wrap up, they will put out the entire schedule for that, which super excited to watch the men's basketball team play. It seemed like they were kind of beating some of these teams in exhibitions a lot closer than they should be. So hopefully that's not a sign of what's to come, but a sign that, hey, even if we're playing half pace, we're still beating these teams. And honestly, that's what I'm kind of banking on. So, yeah. And then, per usual, last topic of the night, we have our beloved Minnesota Vikings. And kind of before we get into things, we got our last question from my brother, actually, Dan. Kind of caught me off guard the other day, and he texted me and was like, "What's the Minnesota Vikings record going to be?" And I was about to text him back, and he's like, "Don't actually text me back. Talk about it on the podcast." So thank you for the question, Dan, but the question is a little too early. One of the things I wanted to tell you was, we're getting awfully close to, I shouldn't say awfully close, like guys have already reported for training camp. We've already seen the already viral picture of Joe Burrow with his Slim Shady haircut and all that fun stuff. Actually, I don't know about all the other teams, but the Minnesota Vikings just got underway yesterday or earlier today. But anyways, it's still a little too early for me to tell, just because I don't know who is going to be on the roster. Foreshadowing who's going to be on the injured reserve, and all that kind of stuff. The one thing, excuse me, the one thing that I will say and that I will bring up is looking at this schedule. It sucked to finish. Yeah, it sucked to finish third in the division last year, but we get the benefit of playing a third place schedule. And we also have the luxury of playing the AFC South, and NFC. What's that? The NFC West. Yeah, because I mean, I look at the schedule. I'm not going to give you guys my official thing, but I will give you some kind of semblance because you asked Dan. I look at the schedule, and right now, before knowing everything, before seeing any tape on anybody, I see 8 teams that right now we are better than. Okay, so I would say at the bare minimum, the Vikings will go 8-9. Right, 17. Yeah, 8. No, yeah, 17 games. The bare minimum will go 8-9. So I kind of thought you asked me this because you were placing a futures bet. If you're seeing anywhere 6.5 wins, 7.5 wins for the Vikings this year, hammer the over. If you're looking at 8, 8.5, I might take a little more time to dissect. So this is what I will give you guys tonight to answer your question, Dan. I think our floor is 8-9, and I think that would put us at third or fourth in the division, and putting us in a position to get another skill level position early on in the draft next year, or use that to sign somebody to kind of help and bring things in. And then on the flip side, we're gonna wait to make some bold predictions. And then right now, at the very best, best case scenario, we will lose to the San Francisco 49ers. We will lose to Detroit once at their home. and then we will and then either Houston or Jacksonville. I mean, honestly, the ceiling that I have for this team is 14-3. 14-3, and that would put us at the first in the division. And I mean, I look at this schedule, and some of these teams, it is kind of tough. But I mean, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I got 8 teams. I'm looking at this, and I'll read them off right now for you guys. New York Giants, we're better than right now. Right now, we're better than them. Right now, I would say we're better than the Jets because we don't know what we're going to get from Aaron Rodgers this year, and he's coming off an Achilles at the age of 40. We're better than the Rams. We're better than the Colts. We're better than Tennessee. We're better than Arizona. We're better than Atlanta. And we're better than Seattle. And then, truthfully, if you want my honest to God opinion, I think we're better than Chicago. You know what? Fuck it. I'll give you guys one bold prediction this year. I think Caleb Williams is going to flop. I think he's going to flop. He's obviously got all the talent in the world, and everybody is raving about the offensive weapons he has. He's got DJ Moore, he's got Roma Dunze, he's got Keenan Allen. He's just gonna ball out. The guy has one of the biggest egos I have ever seen in professional sports for somebody coming in as a rookie. Now, one thing I actually didn't realize is that up until the beginning of this week, end of last week, most rookies don't sign their contracts until then. Most rookies have already signed their contract. JJ, that's another thing we're going to talk about. He signed his contract, his rookie contract already. Caleb Williams, not only has he not signed his rookie contract already, but he's already come out saying, "I'm not going to do it. My legal team's going to handle that for me." Like I said, that's what I'm going to give you guys. And I think he's going to be a flop. I think the Chicago Bears are taking a chance on a guy that said 8 months ago he had no interest in playing in Chicago. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be good. So, yeah, I mean, I guess technically, by what I just said, I look at the schedule and there's 9. There's 9 games, or 9 teams that were better than. So, yeah. And then as far as within the division, as much as I hate to admit it, but they proved me wrong last year. They won the division. The Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, for me, the biggest thing are, did they hit their peak last year or will they get better? Because if Detroit reached their peak last year, I think we have the ability to split with them. I don't think we would sweep them. I think they would only sweep us if they got a little bit better. And then same thing with Green Bay. I think honestly the biggest question mark for Green Bay was what we very similar, but just similar to a specific person. I think it's going to come down to, was last year the best Jordan Love's going to get, or is he going to get even better? Because again, God forbid if he gets better and he is the next Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, which I hope to God he's not, and I don't think he is. I think he's going to be a top quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be elite. But God willing, if he does reach that next level, they could sweep us, unfortunately. But if they do hit their peak, that is a team that we could, at the bare minimum, split with, maybe even sweep, considering our game in Green Bay is early on, so we're not going to have to deal with, having to play in the freezing cold, wind or anything like that. It's actually the week 4, Sunday, the September 29th. So it should be a nice fall crisp day. So yeah, and then that's your answer, Dan. And then yeah, unfortunately there were, it was a little bit of a roller coaster um for the Vikings these last 2 weeks. So you have that, and then you obviously you had oh gosh, how do you pronounce his first name again? Kyrie Jackson passing away. Just terrible. It doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete or not. This to hear of a young gentleman passing away at such a young age, it sucks. It really does. I think it's a real classy thing by the Vikings organization to donate what he would have signed for his contract. Um, Send that over to his family and the signing bonus and all that kind of stuff. Real classy move. But just it still sucks, especially knowing it wasn't his fault. He was hit doing his thing by a drunk driver. And then yeah, like I said, with the that, and then you got Jordan Addison getting arrested for a DUI, kind of on the low part of the roller coaster, and then you go to the top of it, and we signed Darasot to a huge money contract. He signed a 4-year extension that will receive up to 113 million in new money, 77 million guaranteed, and 43.7 of it was guaranteed at signing. So definitely deserved every penny of that easily. I mean, I think he is top 3 offensive tackle in the league. But yeah, and then kind of joining him with that, the ramifications, everybody kind of thought with what happened with Jordan Addison that he was going to be disciplined right away. And he really hasn't been. What it's sounding like it is it's going to come down to was he drunk driving or was he under the influence of marijuana? Like it or love it, it sounds like if he was drunk, there's going to be more serious ramifications because driving drunk is just unacceptable anywhere in the nation. However, with it being taken place in California, where a state where marijuana is legal recreationally, if it was marijuana related, it's what he did isn't necessarily illegal. It sounds like, don't quote me, but it doesn't sound like it's illegal. But he still shouldn't have been blocking a road, sleeping from it. So I think it's going to come down to that. I think he's going to get probably suspended for at least a couple games. With that, there have been some rumors that the Carolina Panthers could be trying to fully get ready for what's to come with, what am I trying to say? Rebuilding, cutting Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen may be coming back here with videos of him and JJ McCarthy working out, and I would be all for that. I would, want to make sure as a fan that, hey, if that happens, you got Quicey and Kevin O'Connell saying, hey, you're coming in here as like at best our third option, but you're mainly coming in here to help Addison, help Powell, help these young receivers develop and all become JJs and Adam Thielen. I know I was looking at the roster and some of these guys you got Brandon Powell and I get Trent Sherfield, are both 28, but JJ's still only 25. You got Jordan Addison who's 22, Malik Knowles who's 23, but kind of when you talk about skill positions like that, you don't necessarily need to just be old to be, a good, veteran for guys to listen to. But like a good veteran, like a guy like Adam Thielen, he's been that number 1 option. He's been that number 2 option, and can kind of all help in all of that too. So, yeah, and then currently we're on the downside of the roller coaster, as just yesterday, the first day of training camp, Mekhi Blackmon suffers a torn ACL. So really a tough tough blow for him. I believe we drafted him back in the 2021. No. Yeah, 2021. No. No, 2022. He was a rookie last year, and he didn't do amazing, but he didn't do terrible. I think on the defense, he was one of, 2 or 3 guys that I think could have taken that next step. We signed and got back Duke Shelley, which will help. But obviously wish him a speedy recovery. Obviously won't be back this year, but always hate to see guys go down for injuries like that. So yeah, that kind of wraps up most of the podcast here for you guys. So yeah, like I said, got some news for you guys. So first things first, just earlier today, added some more merch to our store. So go check out. I'll put it in the bio on YouTube as well, but it's also in the bio on Instagram as well. But we got a crew neck / long sleeve shirt option, Adidas hoodies. We got a little bigger of a mug, phone cases, coffee tumblers, coasters, and car magnets to go with what we already have with current designs. And we're also working on a couple other designs that we hope to have out within the next month or so here. So go check those out. And the last thing of news that we have for you guys is, gosh, I didn't even write it down. I gotta check my calendar. Starting on Wednesday, what is it? Either Wednesday the 21st or Thursday the 22nd, when we do our 2024 football preview, we will be live streaming our weekly podcasts. So you'll be able to watch in real time. You'll be able to listen the night after, the morning after, and watch archived as well. So getting there slowly but surely. It's been a fun summer, and not as much news, more so a reminder. We are, we'll talk more about it the closer we get, but we're still doing that first touchdown challenge for some opportunity to win some money while watching the Vikings game. So yeah, that's the news and the updates that we had for you guys tonight. So before we log off, I will remind you guys of, remember this podcast about you guys, the listeners. If you have a topic you want me to address or a question you want me to answer, please reach out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or by emailing us. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram handles are at MiniWeekend, and email is miniweekend@gmail.com. That's MINNYWEEKEND @gmail.com. And be sure to let us know if you'd like to stay anonymous with your questions as well. Also, find us and give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter, where there are giveaways and you can stay up to date on all things Mini Weekend. And lastly, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified of the new episode as soon as it comes out. Until next time, Mini.